Hi and welcome back to Highlander Heart. Today we pose the question, can AI revive those missing Highlander scenes? Now AI is obviously quite a controversial subject, right? We've been told since the 80s that it's going to destroy us, but now it's here and it's everywhere. What we're actually seeing is that it is doing things that creatives were doing, and maybe better than we'd like. Not perfect, thank God, but we've seen the actor strikes, the writer strikes, all for good reason. We do not want to live in a world where an AI will write a script, where an AI will take an actor's image and use it against their will or even their voice. However, it is here, and while we have seen the bad side, we've also seen things that it can do which might be able to help us with our quest today. So cast your minds back about a year, and AI video was honestly nightmarish. The vision of Will Smith eating spaghetti is burned into my brain and will never leave. However, almost a year on, we're seeing a huge upturn in some of the stuff that AI is capable of now. Look at these videos from Sora and more recently Luma, turning memes into video from photos. And the minute I saw this stuff, it was clear to me the first thing I had to try was to try to bring back those Highlander scenes. So, as you will, I'm sure, know, there are many Highlander scenes that were lost to time, possibly in a fire, possibly sitting in a vault, possibly just thrown away because they didn't like them very much. And specifically, there are 4 that we're going to look at today, mainly because we've got some decent color photos of them. For context, during the filming of Highlander, photographer David James was on set pretty much all the time and took some amazing shots. David's Panzer have contact sheets of all of the photos he took, but not the negatives. And only some of those negatives were turned into color shots, and that's what we have access to. And that's what we're going to try to use here. So we have the famous, infamous almost, Young Dol Kim scene with the Kurgan in a big computer room. We also have my favorite scene, that orange scene. What the hell is that about? Well, we'll get to that later. The dugout scene where they take Bedside and get him drunk. And that alternate end scene. The audio of which I'm pretty sure is what we hear at the end of the movie as voiceover. So those are the ones that we're going to hit today. So first up, Young Dol Kim. So here we have it. They're in an office space. They're smacking each other with swords. And by all accounts, it wasn't a great scene, and that's why it didn't make it in. But you've got basically Kim getting down to his knees and saying, "You know what, I'm done. I just want peace." And Kurgan's like, "I'll give you your peace. I'll never do it again." Sorry. So what better place to start? Okay, so he started with this photo. It's not the greatest photo in the world, quality-wise, but I thought, let's try this. So here we go. Man with sword walking towards us as a prompt. And we wait. Now this is something, if you're going to be using Luma, that you'll see a lot. But actually the first time round it didn't take that long, and the results were Pedro Pascal in an S&M costume. So not exactly what I was imagining, I'll be honest. Let's try things again. Maybe AI's cleverer than I thought it was. Young Clancy Brown, the Kurgan, walking towards us. Ah, there we go, but now he seems to be looking for a stapler or a hole punch or something like that. He's completely bypassing young Dalkin. Young Clancy Brown, the Kurgan, taking a swing at the man kneeling down on the floor. I mean, this has got to work for this next shot, right? No, it's going to make him kneel down. AI. I'd forgotten how tricky AI can be and how tricky prompts can be and how AI kind of, it's a bit like an Aladdin's lamp. It will sort of interpret what you say maybe a little too literally sometimes. So, I tried a few more times and we got some fairly decent results. So we have him bending down, and I thought I would try something a little different. I knew there was no way I was going to be able to have him start standing because we don't have a shot of that. So I thought I would go from a kneeling shot of him to standing and then reverse it, right? So that's what happened. As always, AI made up its own crap. But ultimately, there's a few seconds there that we could use. And that's where I started to see that every single one of these things that Luma was making that was about, let's say, 4 to 5 seconds long, the first 1 to 2 seconds were pretty good, even if the rest was laughable. Then I got to what I think is the best shot of all, which is a shot of young Dalkin holding both of his swords. And it's a nice close-up shot, and I was hopeful for this one. And look what happened. I mean, okay, fine, he puts both of his swords into his stomach and whips another one out, but still, it looks pretty good. And that, it's a very CG face at the end, but ultimately not too bad. And in trying to put all of these together, I realized what I needed was a close-up shot or something to cut away to. I needed to cut away to the Kurgan. We didn't have a great shot, so I took a shot of him at the hotel, stuck the office background in, recolored, and asked it to just have him maybe blink or talk, or no, it put a Power Rangers villain in the background. I'm not really sure where that was coming from. But in the end, we wound up with a few little pieces. This is what we have. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's almost, initially, I've watched it so many times, so not so much, spine-tingly to see what that scene might have looked like. Even with all the crap taken out, it's still very artificial looking, but yet still pretty cool. Next up, yeah, it's my favorite scene. It's the orange scene. So backstory for this, having spoken to Russell Markey a few times about this, basically what it sounds like is that while they were filming the Boston Commons scene, they decided to go shoot in the house in the background because maybe they had some time or whatever, and they got Christoph in a costume, and it was unscripted. So there's nothing that gives us any lead on what would have happened in this scene, but I like to think of it as being the scene where he basically tells Bassett's wife that she looks like a bloated warlock. I mean, that seems to make sense to me, right? The time looked about right. So, here we go. A young Christopher Lambert moving in orange, backwards and forwards, from his left hand to his right. I mean, that seemed to be fairly doable, right? And then we found out that everybody in the world is using Luma right now, because renders went from 15 to 20 minutes to around 12 hours to come through, and that continued pretty consistently for the rest of this experiment. Anyway, once we got there, the result was not what I was expecting. A couple of extras from an Ealing comedy just turned up sitting on the table next to him. So I thought, well, okay, fine, let's just make it simpler. Let's just have him laugh or something, but let's stage it in Victorian England. And did you spot that? Yeah, did you spot it? Lord Farquhar just popping up out of his sleeve there.
Hello there.
Yeah, all right, okay, AI. Yeah, that's an AI thing that it's going to do, isn't it? So let's go with it. Add a Victorian woman. And there we go. And he's even angry as well and gets out of shot before he speaks. Yeah, and she looks a bit shocked at what he said. Yeah, I was pretty happy with that, I have to say. That made me happy. Third scene, dugout scene. Without doubt, I think one of the best scenes to try because we have a lot of different angles, a lot of different shots for this sequence. For context, while Castigier and Connor are on the bridge in Central Park, they spot Bedso tailing them. So then they tail him to a sort of dugout bar. It's a bit of a strip joint. It's a bit sort of sawdust on the floor. And decide to go and see what he knows and tell him the story about how they were looking for Washington's teeth. It's a great little story. If you can dig out the script online, go check it out. It's fun. So here we go. And as per usual, AI does its AI-ness. What starts out well goes horribly wrong pretty quickly. People change from one person to another in the blink of an eye. And, oh my lord, this is the worst. But when you put it all together, but again, if you cut out the crap and just go with those few moments, what you end up with is actually pretty decent. So our final scene I'm going to do is the alternate scene at the end of the movie. Again, there's quite a few shots from this, and AI performed without doubt the best during this scene. I think because there's less for it to do, and it liked the background and just like to explore that and go for angles and camera movements as opposed to trying to maneuver and alter people. So what happened is this. We've got some great shots here. There's some weird head whipping, it's a little fast, but ultimately, even though it looks CG, it's great. Okay, so she completely ignores Connor and walks off. But ultimately, again, but here we go. We have got some good shots that we can use in a row to really bring about a sense of what this was. And that's what I decided to look at this whole experiment as. There was no way that I could get them to speak the lines. There was no way I could even get their lips to move or really do exactly what I needed them to do. But there was enough there that I could feel like I was extracting an idea of what those scenes might have looked like. And that was good enough for me. Well, almost. I had to go the extra mile. As well as AI video, we also have AI voice. Not that I condone it, using an actor's voice again. So Will is not a good thing to do. Within the confines of what we're doing here, the actors have already spoken this dialogue. They've already acted in these scenes. We just don't know where it is. So with that in mind, I feel it's okay to replicate Christoph's voice. The rest I had to take some liberties with. But with a little bit of that, some background scoring, and even a little bit of Queen. Get ready for that copyright strike. We have what I think is a really nice little compilation of what may still exist out there. But yeah, of those lost scenes.
So, this is where it all began. Can you tell me about the prize?
It's like a whirlwind in my head. But if I concentrate, I know what people are thinking all over the world.
Good day to you, you bloated warthog.
You fight like an old woman can.
I want peace.
I'll give you your peace.
Freezing our asses off. Crawling around in the snow looking for a set of wooden dentures.
So we started off this asking, can AI revive the lost Highlander scenes? And actually, I don't think the answer is yes or no. I think it's not yet. But I think it could do. You know, there are much cleverer people who use this stuff way more than I do. Corridor Crew, I'm looking at you. I've sent you an email. Please get back to me. With some stabilization of the actors, with a little bit more coaxing. I mean, with Luma, I got 20 shots of this. I didn't use them all up, but at 12 hours of render, it was eating into my time far too much. I think we're not far from being able to take what we have and using it to recreate those scenes. The question is, will anybody do it? If the technology gets there, I know somebody who will. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is it a good thing to try and revive these things? What do you think of what we've managed to do so far? It'd be great to hear your thoughts, and yeah, until next time, hold fast and don't lose your head.
So, this is where it all began. Can you tell me about the prize?
It's like a whirlwind in my head. But if I concentrate, I know what people are thinking all over the world.
Good day to you, you bloated warthog.
You fight like an old woman can.
I want peace.
I'll give you your peace.
Freezing our asses off. Crawling around in the snow looking for a set of wooden dentures.